What's up, SE Nation? Ramsey here. If you don't know me, I'm a sales engineer, solution specialist out of Ottawa, Canada, and I like to talk about sales engineering. But today's topic is a little bit different. Well, it is about sales engineering, but I stumbled upon a video by the great George Burns, who I've been on his podcast way back when. It's been a few years. But he discussed the opportunity cost of having a salesperson. And I thought it was an interesting listen, so I wanted to share that with you.
Everyone's focused on the cost of sales. But you know what the number one cost of sales is that nobody talks about? It's opportunity cost. And what is that, Brian? What are you talking about, opportunity cost? Opportunity cost is taking your most productive rep, the top revenue producer, and then taking the mean rep, meaning that there's half reps above them, half reps below them in productivity. The difference between that multiplied by the number of reps is the opportunity cost. This is how much revenue you could have if the whole team was selling like the top rep. Now, I'm not talking about cloning that rep. I'm talking about developing the team to perform equal to the top rep. And everybody, well, how do you do that? Well, it's not by reducing costs, it's by helping those reps. Finding out the distinctions, the skills, the abilities, the talents, the processes that top rep is doing differently than the rest of the team. And mold them and grow them so that they can produce the same amount. And a lot of people think that's hard. It's harder than reducing the costs and cutting people off and laying people off on the company or your opportunity cost.
So that was George Burns talking about the opportunity cost of not having good salespeople. And it dawned on me that no one ever talks like that about sales engineers. And by the way, I had a podcast last week all about enablement, and I talked about how salespeople get enabled, how sales engineers get enabled. Basically, it sucks. But let's talk about sales engineering. I'm talking to a lot of startups these days, and the first hire that they have someone to do the product, but then the first hire that they have is a salesperson. They don't hire an SE until later, maybe. The thing about startups is it's very lean. They should start lean, right? Few people. With a CEO doing the majority of the potentially sales and pre-sales work, they might hire a salesperson who takes over the pre-sales work, and now the CEO is doing the SE work, or the head of product is doing the SE work, which is, let's talk about why this is good. Founders get to meet customers. They get to listen to their experiences firsthand, listen to feedback, and do something about it. Also, the founders are developing relationships with the customers, feedback and testimonials. Nobody can sell like founders. There's a reason they came out with a product. They saw the problem. They're the best at articulating that problem. So they can sell fairly well, even if they're not natural born salespeople. And also they get to save money on hiring SEs. Why is this bad? Most founders who don't come up from a pre-sales background don't know how to do it. I mean, people buy because they have a good story, but not because they had a good pre-sales process. My experience is founders are either product-driven, they came from a development background and they're working on the product, or business-driven, they came from sales and all they do is talk about the business. I've been with discussions with founders from both ends of the spectrum. And it's interesting the mistakes. One, they're excited to show the product and they jump right into the demo. Great, fine, do that. And I had to ask a whole lot of questions about what is this about? Or they don't start with a conversation. I'm doing most of the asking. They're supposed to be doing the asking, right? They're just so eager to show the product. Demos don't flow. They don't have stories. It takes time away. The most negative thing, forget about all things that are pre-sales oriented, because again, founders can't sell because they're founders. They have weight, but the biggest problem is it's taking them away from what they're supposed to be doing. CEOs, founders, it's taking them away from actually working on the product and improving the product. The CEO, it's taking them away from finding funding, being a presence for the organization, from working on the vision and all that. Sales engineers are sales engineers. Others are not. Product people are product people. They're great at what they do. They're not great at sales engineering. So that's the negative part of that. But even if we go into larger startups, now we're moving up the stage. Let's say this is the young startup started and now it's growing. and they hired their first salesperson and SE team. That's great. That's amazing. Most companies hire a salesperson, at least most companies that I've talked to. They just hire a salesperson, and then they hire another salesperson and another. You see where this is going. So they hired 10 salespeople before they even thought about hiring an SE, and some people don't even know what an SE is. We have 10 salespeople. That's good, because that means we get to generate a lot of leads, generate business opportunities. Why is this bad? Well, whoever was doing the sales engineering work before is going to have to continue doing the sales engineering work. And that could be the CEO, and that could be the product people. Doesn't really matter. Like, someone's doing it. Again, they're not good at that. You wouldn't expect a coach to be good at playing basketball at a high level. They may be able to play, but not at a high level. CEO might be able to demo, but they won't demo like a sales engineer. If now the CEO is too busy, what they're going to do is take an engineer, someone they think that knows how to talk to customers, plug them in, and now, great, go do demo. And they just show the product. Engineers are not the same as sales engineers. A sales engineer can't do an engineer's job. Why is it that people think that an engineer can do a sales engineer's job without training? And this is even worse than a CEO acting as an engineer. Well, for one, if the engineer is building the product, is doing SE stuff, like, who's actually doing the product building? Who's working on that part? An engineer with zero sales engineering training is just gonna show the product the way engineers show products. They're gonna talk about fields, they're gonna talk about clicks, about buttons, and they're gonna be there to answer technical questions. They're not gonna be there to drive the opportunity forward. They're not gonna be able to ask discovery questions that focus on the business problem rather than the technical features that they work on. There isn't a pre-sales process either, right? Like, there might be a sales process. There isn't a pre-sales. Even if they hire an SE, they're going to have to jigsaw a pre-sales process into the sales process instead of actually having one that works together. We're part of the same team, but when there's a sales process already set and an SE comes in and just tries to interject or add themselves into this process, it's going to take a lot of breaking down the sales process that's already in place to insert the pre-sales process, and not many people like that. Also, part of the sales engineer's job right now is to come up with commission structure. A lot of people just say, you know what, we'll pay you a salary. SEs who join startups without zero experience are going to fail miserably at a startup because, like I said, they're going to have to build the pre-sales process. They're going to have to build the commission process. They're going to have to build the onboarding process. There's a million processes that they're going to have to build. But or if they hire someone who's been doing that for years, and to come in and become an SE leader within a team startup, they want commission. I want commission. I don't want to get paid a salary. I want to have the potential to earn higher income because I sold. Also, at that point, because we're talking about the sales process, the post-sales process is also messed up. Who takes ownership for what? Is it the sales engineer's job to do the implementation? Is it the implementation's job to do the scoping? Who's doing what? All this is going to have to be figured out after the fact, and that means there's a lot of tension because people are going to have to change the way they do things. And a lot of times, one SE ends up supporting like 10 salespeople. That just means they're jumping on one call after another, doing unprepared demos or unprepared discoveries, using canned demos. Meeting prep will suffer. Results will not be as good as they could be. Bottom line, it makes it very hard for a pre-sales engineer to actually be pre-sales. Right, now we're growing. We became a bigger company. It's scaling, it's adding more SEs. That's good. The first SE is going to get some help. They're able to take vacation. On the other hand, they never created an onboarding process. Each SE is going to have to come in and reinvent the wheel. They didn't create a commission structure. There's a lot of things that were left lacking because the first SE was so busy supporting 10 salespeople, fighting with a lot of people. Now they're going to have to take time to actually build it. Or, like the companies I've been in, mess around. That's why most companies don't like to hire brand new SEs. There is no way to really onboard them and have them be effective. No, that's why experienced SEs are required all the time. That's why everybody needs 20 years of experience as a sales engineer. And as you get larger and larger, it's more of the same problems. You either start right or you just grow into a big mess. Companies like Cisco, companies like Splunk, they're large companies. They know how to onboard their SEs. VMware, they know how to onboard their SEs. They've developed this. Either they did it from the get-go, how they built their SE process. Bottom line, the larger it gets, the harder it gets to manage. Each SE manager is going to have to figure out how to do it on their own, or they work together to rebuild stuff from scratch. I guess the bottom line to this story is if you're a brand new SE or trying to break into sales engineering, don't go for a startup. I've talked to a lot of SEs who've just suffered because of that. If you're an experienced SE, just know that you might run into some of these things, but it might be fun for you. But if you're a startup, if you're a CEO of a startup, a founder, a co-founder, bring in an SE early or come and talk to me. I'll be happy to give you advice and share some thoughts and ideas. Me again, I just remembered, I didn't talk about the opportunity cost. Basically, you're wasting a crap ton of money not hiring an SE early, if that's not clear. If it's all, after all that, it's not clear. If you don't hire an SE early in your life cycle, you're gonna have to pay for it later. Or even you're gonna have to pay for it now because there's nobody to sell your product. Anyways, that's it for me. Get back to work. Peace.